From Fox 55 Sports, this is The Locker Room.
Welcome back, everybody. It is now the Justin Show inside the locker room. Justin Kenny swinging by to talk some prep pigskin. And Justin, we've had you on by Skype. We've had you in studio. And now we get to have you over the cell phone. How you doing, man? I know you were out at that Northside Carroll game tonight. Obviously just getting done. What a game for you out there.
Yeah, I wish I could be there in the studio with you, Justin. But, yeah, the game literally ended about 10 minutes ago. Just a wild night out at Carroll. 76-48 was the final. Jeff Becker, 9 total touchdowns, 8 through the air, had a rushing touchdown as well. Waiting to see his total numbers for passing for the night. Has to be over 500 yards. Deuce Taylor tried to match him as much as possible. To arguably, I don't think there's any doubt the two best quarterbacks we have in Northeast Indiana. It lived up to the hype. Carroll was just able to get it done a little more and score some more touchdowns. But, Carroll really put a stamp on tonight in showing that, hey, we are a contender in the SAC. And when you look around the conference, who can match up with that offense? I'm looking at Bishop DeWanger as maybe the only team that can slow down Jeff Becker in that offense right now.
Yeah, a stat here from Carroll's Twitter account says Becker, 21 of 31 for 460 yards and 8 touchdowns through the air. Mason Engler, 10 catches for 306 and 4 touchdowns. The average Charger drive, 53 seconds. You know Dwanger's not going to let that happen on defense.
Wow, yeah, those stats are mind-boggling to me. It felt, 460 for Becker. It felt like 660. And when you throw in his rushing yards, easily over 500 yards for the night. But it really was problematic for Northside to match up in the secondary. The front seven was holding its own. They were really able to contain Jeff Becker in the pocket. Even when he tried to scramble, really had guys after him. But those defensive backs of Northside struggled all night to stay with the wide receivers like Jamison Coverstone, like Mason Engler. They beat them over the top time and time and time again. And every time they threw deep, Jeff Becker put it right on the numbers, right in the breadbasket. It was a phenomenal performance out of a kid that just had a once-in-a-lifetime type night. And the scary thing is he's just a junior.
Yeah, that's the unbelievable part about that is that he is only a junior. I thought early on it looked like Northside was able to kind of do a few things, especially on offense. It looked like they wanted to get the ball out into some space and kind of let their playmakers make some plays. They wanted to eat clock and try and keep Carroll off the field. What happened in that second half that Carroll was able to just get on the field so much?
Well, Northside really did a good job in the first half, really doing some balanced offense, running the football. They were able to move the chains that way. As you mentioned, the screen pass, getting the guys out into space. They must have called probably 20 screen passes on the night, and it really worked. But once they fell behind, they were forced to really have to go to the air and Deuce Taylor and try to keep up with Carroll. And every time Northside would score, Carroll would answer right back, and many times within a minute and a half. So they almost had to abandon the run and abandon that balance in the second half because where the score dictated it. In the first half, Northside was really able to keep the ball away from Carroll. At one point, led 19-14 in that game in the second quarter. But as Carroll continued to score, Northside had to become one-dimensional, had to try to match Carroll on the scoreboard, and really never was able to catch up in the second half.
Do you feel like this one was almost a statement kind of game from Carroll? Obviously, they won by 30 the first 2 weeks and almost by 30 tonight. Do you think this was the statement by Carroll that says we are coming for the SAC this year?
Absolutely. Talked to Jeff Becker after the game, and he said, we want people to know who we are. And they beat a down Carroll team, and they beat a down Bishop Luers team. So people were kind of still questioning going into tonight just how good Carroll football is this year, and they proved something tonight offensively. Now, you look defensively, and both defensive coordinators are probably pulling their hair out with what they saw out of their units tonight, and I can guarantee you that the Carroll defense really has a lot to go over from tonight. But when you look at the quarterbacks that both these teams face, and like I said, two best quarterbacks in the area, I love James Arnold at South Adams, but he just doesn't have the dual threat skill set that these two guys have. is I think both defensive units are going to chalk it up to, hey, we played a phenomenal quarterback tonight, and we can learn a little bit from this one, but in the end, I mean, they were just beaten by superior talent on both sides of the football. So, exciting night out at Carroll, but Carroll goes home the victor 3-0, and you have to feel when we try to look ahead to try to identify which games are going to decide the SAC, all of a sudden that Carroll-Dwenger game looms large.
Yeah, it absolutely does. Again, we could talk about football with Justin Kenny for hours upon hours upon hours here in the locker room. Unfortunately, we are only allotted just a few minutes, but big thanks once again to Justin for swinging on by. Hope you get home, get some rest. I know that was a big game, a long game for you this evening out there at Gorsuch Field.
Absolutely, buddy. Bring it home and have a good weekend.
Thank you very much, man. You too.